This is Detroit, Michigan. Serving a population of 1.8 million people, a streetcar and people mover connect this U.S. city, servicing 24 stations across Wayne County. Consisting of 2 lines and just over 6 miles of track, the system travels around Detroit, with automated and operator-driven trains circulating throughout the downtown area. But how did the system grow from its original stations to the network it is today? My name's Zach, and this is the evolution of the network. Detroit's modern transit network began to form in January 1974, when the Southeastern Michigan Transportation Authority, or SEMTA, began subsidizing the Grand Trunk Railway's commuter rail operations. Named the Silver Streak, the train ran 3 round trips per day, originating in downtown Detroit and running north to Pontiac, making 9 intermediate stops. 1 year later, in January 1975, SEMTA began subsidizing commuter rail operations between Detroit and Jackson. However, the service was operated by Amtrak and will not be included in this video. Silver Streak service was modified 7 years later in July 1981, with the closure of the Pleasant Ridge stop due to low ridership. However, only 2 years later, in October 1983, all operations on the Silver Streak were discontinued, with ridership on the line declining due to a downtown recession. Rail transit in Detroit resumed 4 years later in July 1987, with the opening of the Detroit People Mover in the downtown business district. Running in a counterclockwise loop, the fully automated line served 12 stations, running frequently throughout the week. An infill station opened on the line 1 year later in November 1988, with trains now also stopping at Cobo Center. Due to a failed building demolition in October 1998, People Mover service was suspended due to damage to the guideway. Limited service resumed 3 months later in January 1999, with trains now operating on 2 lines. The red line ran between Times Square and Melander, while the green line ran between Greektown and Cobo Center. Each line ran back and forth with a single vehicle on a 1-track line, with passengers traveling between the ends of the line having to transfer. In August of that year, Greektown and Times Square stations were closed to accommodate construction, with the green and red lines being cut back as a result. Full counterclockwise service on the People Mover resumed 3 months later in November 1999, over a year after the initial closure, including the reopening of Times Square Station. Greektown Station was reopened 2 months later in January 2000, with construction of an adjoining casino having been completed. Grand Circus Park Station finally reopened the following year in April 2001, restoring service to all the stations on the line. Further construction on the line began in September 2002, with the closing of Renaissance Center Station. Trains were revised once again to operate in both directions on a reduced frequency, running between Bricktown and Melander Center stations. Construction lasted for just over 2 years, with the counterclockwise looping resuming in September 2004. Renaissance Center Station reopened 2 months later that November, providing access into the newly renovated complex. Service on the line stabilized for the next couple of years, until the line was changed to run clockwise in August 2008. This change helped to speed up service on the route and reduce travel time between popular destinations. A second rail transit line was opened in Detroit in May 2017, with streetcar service beginning on the Q line. Running along Woodward Avenue, the line connected Grand Boulevard with Congress Street, including interchange with the People Mover at Grand Circus. On the People Mover, Cobo Center was renamed to Convention Center in late 2019, following the renaming of Cobo Center for a sponsor. 3 years later, in May 2022, 2 additional stations were renamed, with Joe Louis Arena becoming West Riverfront and Convention Center being renamed once again to Huntington Place. This brings us to the Detroit People Mover and Q line maps that we know today. That was the evolution of Detroit's People Mover and streetcar, giving us the 2 lines that we know today. If you haven't already, be sure to watch our Evolution of the Network videos on other American cities, which you can access by clicking the button in the top right corner. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and comment down below to join in the discussion. My name's Zach, and I'll be vanishing underground until the next one.